There are shoe brands in your closet right now that no longer exist. The companies behind them went bankrupt, the names were sold, and new owners kept putting those labels on completely different shoes. You have been buying from dead brands without knowing it. This video is about 10 of them. One was bigger than Nike, and most people forgot that ever happened. Two were built by designers who both died at 50 from cancer, and their names are still earning money for people who never met them. And when you see which single group of companies ended up owning almost all of these names, you will realize this is not a coincidence. It is an industry. Number 1. Payless. In 1956, two cousins named Louis and Shaul Pozez opened a self-service shoe store in Topeka, Kansas. The idea was radical for the time. No salespeople, no fitting chairs, no one hovering while you tried on shoes. You walked in, found your size, and brought the box to the register. The prices were low enough that a mother could walk out with 2 pairs for her kids and still have money left for groceries. The concept worked beyond anything the Pozez family imagined. At its peak, Payless operated more than 4,500 stores worldwide and served over 60 million customers a year. It was the largest specialty footwear retailer in the Western Hemisphere. Then in 2012, private equity firms Bloom Capital and Golden Gate Capital loaded the company with $840 million in debt through a leveraged buyout. The stores were still profitable. The customers were still coming. But the debt payments ate the business alive. In 2017, Payless filed for bankruptcy and closed 673 stores. In February 2019, it filed again. This time, every single one of the remaining 2,500 American locations shut down. A promised online relaunch with 300 new stores never materialized. 60 million customers had nowhere else to go. That is not a brand dying. That is infrastructure disappearing. The next brand is Personal. The woman who built it changed how every professional woman in America got dressed in the morning. And she did not live to see what happened to her name. Number 2. Anne Klein. Anne Klein was born Hannah Golofsky in Brooklyn in 1923. By 15, she was sketching for fashion houses on 7th Avenue. She did not wait for permission. She walked in, showed her work, and started. What made her different was a concept she called the coordinated closet. Before Anne Klein, women bought full outfits. She designed separates that worked together. 5 pieces, 20 combinations. That was the foundation of the modern working woman's wardrobe. In 1973, she was chosen as the only woman on a team of 5 American designers to compete against the French at the Battle of Versailles. Oscar de la Renta, Bill Blass, Halston, Stephen Burrows, and Anne Klein. The Americans won. That night changed fashion permanently. It was the moment America became a fashion country. 5 months later, Anne Klein died of breast cancer. She was 50 years old. After her death, her protégée Donna Karan took over and eventually launched her own label. Anne Klein, the brand, was sold, then sold again. Taquillo, Casper ASL, Jones Apparel Group, and finally WHP Global in 2019. Today, Anne Klein is a licensed label on shoes, handbags, and watches at Macy's and Amazon. 52 years of licensing since the founder died. Nobody alive at the company has ever met her. She is not the only designer on this list who died at 50. We will get to the other one. But first, a brand that did something in the 1980s that most people have completely forgotten. Number 3. Reebok. In 1982, Reebok released the Freestyle. It was the first athletic shoe designed specifically for women. Not a smaller version of a men's shoe, not a pink version. A shoe built from scratch for the way women moved, specifically for the aerobics classes that were sweeping the country. Every woman who walked into a gym in the 80s wore Reeboks. The Freestyle was not just a shoe, it was the uniform of a cultural shift. Women were exercising in public, in groups, in leotards and leg warmers, and the shoe on their feet was a Reebok. By 1987, Reebok had surpassed Nike in domestic sales. $1.4 billion in revenue, more than Nike. That is a fact that most people under 40 have never heard, because Nike came back with Air Jordan and never looked back. Reebok lost its momentum. In 2006, Adidas bought Reebok for $3.8 billion. Under Adidas, Reebok was treated as a secondary brand. Sales declined year after year. In 2022, Adidas sold Reebok to Authentic Brands Group for $2.5 billion. ABG is the largest brand licensing company in the world. They own more than 50 brand names. Remember that name because it is about to come up again and again. Today, you can still buy Reeboks, but the company that designed the Freestyle, the company that outsold Nike, does not exist anymore. ABG owns the name. Licensees make the shoes. When the Freestyle was made by Reebok, it was designed by people who understood women's feet. When the Freestyle is licensed by ABG, it is designed by whoever wins the contract. The next brand built everything around a single invention. And when the company went bankrupt, the invention did not survive the sale. Number 4. Aerosoles. Aerosoles was founded in 1987 around a single innovation. The Diamond Flex sole, a diamond-shaped pattern cut into the bottom of the shoe that made it bend with your foot instead of against it. That sounds simple now, but in the late 80s, it was revolutionary. Aerosoles proved that you could wear a heel that did not hurt. At its peak, 88 stores and a presence in every major department store in the country. Then in September 2017, Aerosoles filed for bankruptcy with debts between $100 and $500 million. In February 2018, the entire brand was sold at auction for $26.2 million. When a shoe brand is sold at auction, the engineers who designed the sole technology do not come with the deal. The name transfers. The knowledge behind the name does not. The Diamond Flex sole that made Aerosoles worth buying is no longer being developed by the people who invented it. 5 shoe brands down. And the question you are probably asking is, which brands can I actually still trust? My brand guide ranks 85 clothing and shoe brands from worst to best, with a 60-second quality check you can use in any store. The link is in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now. Because there are 5 more shoe brands on this list, and the next one is a name every woman in this country has worn at least once. Number 5, Nine West. Nine West was founded in 1978 and became the #1 women's shoe brand in American department stores. You had a pair in black and probably one in navy, and you wore them until the heels gave out, and then you went back and bought the same ones again. That was the deal. Affordable, stylish, reliable. Every working woman in America knew the name. In 2013, Sycamore Partners bought the parent Jones Group for $2.2 billion and loaded it with debt. By 2018, Nine West Holdings filed for bankruptcy under $1.6 billion in liabilities. The shoes were fine. The financial engineering behind the scenes was not. The brand was sold to ABG for $340 million. Today, Nine West shoes are licensed to Mark Fisher Footwear. The pumps might still carry the name, but the company that earned the name is gone. The next brand built its reputation on a single color, and the man who chose that color did it because he could not afford any other. Number 6, Etienne Aigner. Etienne Aigner was born in Hungary in 1904. He moved to Paris as a young man and established himself as a leather craftsman. During the Second World War, he joined the French resistance. After the war, he tried to rebuild in Paris. It did not work. In 1950, he emigrated to New York with nothing. He set up a workshop in his bedroom and started making belts. He could only afford one color of leather, a deep burgundy. That single constraint became the most recognizable signature in American accessories. The belts found their way into Lord & Taylor, where Aigner was given his own section, one of the first branded leather goods displays in a department store. The horseshoe-shaped A logo became iconic. In 1967, the American business was sold to Jonathan Logan. The US and European companies split into 2 completely separate entities, but the brand kept growing under its new owners. By the 1980s, every working woman in America recognized Etienne Aigner. The oxblood pumps, the matching handbag, the belt with the horseshoe clasp. It was the starter kit of the professional wardrobe. Not as expensive as Coach, not as casual as Nine West, exactly in between. Aigner himself had no involvement in the company for decades. He died in November 2000 at 95. Today, the American brand is largely licensed. The man who made belts in his bedroom because burgundy was the only leather he could afford, a man who survived a world war by fighting in the resistance, has been reduced to a logo on a licensing agreement. The next two brands share something that connects them to and Klein. The same age, the same disease, the same ending. Number 7. Bandolino and Enzo Angolini. Enzo Angolini started working in a shoe factory in Montopoli, Italy, when he was 15 years old. He learned to cut leather by hand, to shape a sole, to understand how a shoe should move with a foot, not against it. In 1978, he was recruited to design the Bandolino line for United States Shoe Corporation. Under his hand, the brand grew from $13 million to $120 million in annual revenue. Bandolino flats became a fixture at Macy's. Affordable, elegant, and made by a man who had been touching leather since he was a teenager. In 1984, he launched his own line. The Enzo Angolini Liberty Flat became one of the most popular dress flats in American department stores. On January 3, 1993, Enzo Angolini died of cancer. He was 50 years old. Two designers on this list, Anne Klein and Enzo Angolini, both 50, both cancer, both left behind a name that someone else now profits from. Neither of them chose this. After his death, both Bandolino and Enzo Angolini were absorbed into Nine West Holdings. When Nine West filed for bankruptcy in 2018, both brands were sold to ABG. Today, Bandolino exists as a licensed label. Enzo Angolini has largely disappeared. The man who designed shoes by hand in a factory in Italy, his name now belongs to a company in New York that has never made a shoe. The next brand changed hands so many times that by the end, nobody who understood the original product was left. Number 8. Rockport. In 1971, Bruce Katz had one idea that nobody else was pursuing. Put athletic soles on dress shoes, comfort that did not compromise appearance. Before Rockport, you had to choose. The brand was sold to Reebok in 1986 for $118 million. Then Reebok was bought by Adidas, and Rockport came along for the ride. In 2015, Adidas sold Rockport to New Balance and Berkshire Partners. In 2018, Rockport filed for bankruptcy. In 2023, it filed again. 5 owners in 37 years. Each time the brand changed hands, the people who understood the sole technology that made Rockport different were one step further from the product. In August 2023, the brand was sold to ABG. Today, Rockport shoes are licensed to Mark Fisher Footwear, the same Mark Fisher that makes Nine West, the same Mark Fisher that makes Easy Spirit. 3 brands, 3 different names, 1 manufacturer. And that is the connection that ties the rest of this list together. Number 9. Easy Spirit. In 1988, Easy Spirit ran one of the most memorable shoe commercials in television history. Women playing basketball in pumps. The tagline was simple. Looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker. That commercial proved something the industry had been ignoring. Women wanted shoes that looked professional and felt comfortable. That should not have been a radical idea. But in 1988, it was. Easy Spirit became part of Nine West Group. Nine West Group was bought by Jones Apparel. Jones was bought by Sycamore Partners in 2013, the same private equity firm that loaded Ann Taylor with the debt that killed it. Nine West Holdings went bankrupt in 2018. Easy Spirit was pulled down with it. Today, Easy Spirit shoes are licensed through the same ABG network as Nine West, Rockport, Bandolino, and Enzo Angolini. 5 shoe brands, all flowing through the same licensing chain. The shoe that proved pumps could feel like sneakers now comes from the same system as every other dead brand on this list. But the last brand on this list is different from all the others. It did not become a zombie. It did not get licensed. It simply vanished. Number 10. Joan and David. Joan Halpern and her husband David started making shoes in the early 1970s for a very specific customer, the woman who needed to walk into a boardroom and be taken seriously. The leather was Italian. The construction was precise. The price was not cheap, but it was honest. Joan and David stores opened in New York, Los Angeles, and other major cities. The shoes were carried in the best department stores. For professional women in the 80s and 90s, Joan and David was the brand you graduated to when your career reached a certain level. Then, quietly, the stores closed. The brand changed hands. The website went dark. No bankruptcy headlines, no ABG acquisition, no licensing deal. Joan and David simply stopped existing. Of all the brands on this list, this is the only one that truly died. The others became ghosts, names on licensing agreements, labels on shoes made by people who never met the founders. Joan and David did not even get that. It just disappeared. And almost nobody noticed. Now step back and look at the full picture. 10 shoe brands, 10 deaths, and one name kept showing up at the graveside. Reebok, ABG, Nine West, ABG, Rockport, ABG, Bandolino, ABG, Enzo Angolini, ABG, Easy Spirit, ABG. 6 of the 10 brands on this list ended up controlled by ABG. WHP Global took Klein. Sycamore loaded the debt that killed at least 3 of them. And that is just the shoes. We covered 8 clothing brands that died the same way in a separate video. Between the two, that is 18 names. This is not a coincidence. It is a business model. 2 designers on this list died at 50. Klein in 1974. Enzo Angolini in 1993. Both from cancer. Both left behind a name that earns royalties for people who never met them. And that is the thing nobody tells you at the register. If a shoe you trusted feels different now, if the leather is thinner, if the sole is lighter, if the comfort you counted on is not the same, it is probably because the company that made the shoe you loved no longer exists. The name is still there. The company behind it is not. Check who owns it. Check who makes it. That is where the truth is. Which of these brands do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to see what happened to 8 clothing brands that died the exact same way, that video is on screen right now. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. This channel remembers what the labels forgot.